Welcome back to Student of the Gun Homeroom. I'm your host, Paul Markle, and today we're going to talk about the Trayvon Martin felonious assault trial. That's right. It's the topic that's been on all the gun owners' minds this week, last week, the week before that. If you're a concealed carry permit holder, you've been talking about it. You've been watching it on TV. But what are some of the lessons that we can learn from this trial and this situation? Well, number one, if you're a concealed carry holder, if you have a gun and you're going to keep a gun for personal defense, you should always have some type of an alternate use of force tool available. What do I mean? Well, let's see. George Zimmerman that night, what do we know about that situation? He had his empty hands, a cell phone, and a gun, and that was what he had to use. Now, when the situation deteriorated, when it looked like it was going to become a threat, an assault, rather than being able to use a bridge gapping alternate use of force tool, what he used was his firearm, because he got into a situation where that was all he had left. Think about it. When Trayvon Martin approached George Zimmerman and started giving him the, "Hey buddy, what are you doing here?" and he was about to assault him, pre-assaultive behavior, if he would have pulled out a can of pepper spray and said, "Stop," sprayed Martin with it, we would never know his name. None of you guys out there would have ever heard of his name if he would have had some type of a less than lethal or an alternative use of force tool. We never would have heard about him. Number two, if you're injured, go to the hospital. If you survive a deadly force encounter, there's a bad guy on the ground, you had to use a firearm, you're sitting on the curb, you're huffing and puffing, the adrenaline is pumping through your veins, the police are on their way. As soon as someone gets there to help you, tell them, "I've been injured, I need to go to the hospital." Now you're saying, well, what if you haven't been injured? Here is the deal. The real deal is, if you're in a lethal force situation, you're in a deadly force situation, you just defended your life against a felonious attack, the adrenaline is going to be dumping through your veins, and that will mask pain and injury. You may be injured and not know it. Go to the hospital, go to the emergency room, let an ER doctor tell you whether or not you're injured. And the fact of the matter is, sometimes in a fight, you will be injured and the adrenaline will mask that pain and you won't even know it. Think about it. If you ever had to stand trial after it, would you rather have the report of an emergency room doctor or just a bunch of hearsay from the police officers that showed up on scene? Stop trying to be a tough guy or a hero. If you survive a deadly force assault, go to the hospital and let a professional check you out. Number three, what is the third thing that we need to understand? If you ever have to use deadly force to defend your own life, you may be charged. You need to understand that. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're going to go to jail. Charges are different than convictions, but you should be prepared to deal with that. You should have the number of your attorney pre-programmed into your phone, or at very least your spouse needs to have it available. If you call your wife or your husband and you say, "Hey, this is what just happened to me," they need to be able to get a hold of the attorney, or you should be able to get a hold of them on your phone 24 hours a day, not just during business hours. And the second part of that is insurance. There are different types of insurance you can get as a armed citizen. You can get insurance from the NRA. There's an organization called U.S. Concealed Carry. A lot of times your homeowner's insurance policy will cover you, but you need to check that and you need to be aware of it before it happens. You want to understand the uses of force and the appropriate use of deadly force before you're involved in it. Now, for all things Student of the Gun, we want you to go to studentofthegun.com. Watch the TV show, listen to the radio show, and read our latest articles.